Ryan, are you from the area?
I am. I get asked that question a lot. Born in Syracuse, but raised in Fabius for like the first 8 or 9 years of my life, and then we moved. I didn't come back to the community until my junior year of high school,
Okay.
and then
Where were you?
Virginia Beach,
Oh, nice.
North Carolina, Long Island. We moved around
yeah,
a lot growing
yeah.
up as kids, raised by a single mother, so she was trying to figure it out, find a meaningful career, and provide for us kids. So we were all over the place.
What part of the island?
Suffolk County, North Fork.
Yeah. Okay.
Really out there, a little town called Southold. So it's east of.
There's so many towns on the
It's way out on the tip. And
Okay.
It's
So
very small.
So I've been to Shelter Island, which is kind of I'm trying to Greenport.
Yep.
Is it
Right
close
around
to there?
Greenport.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, because we went to I think a brewery there.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful area.
it's very nice.
And it's funny, like once you start getting out east, it's not what you think of Long Island being. It's
Not at
not just
all.
house,
It's
house,
different.
house. Yeah. So you came back up here for high school.
Yeah, I mean, my mother and her family, my family is all this is their spot, right? So she decided at some point it was a good idea to come back, plant our roots, and I was along for the ride.
Yeah.
I had a different
that
plan.
age can't really.
Right. I knew for the longest time prior, since as far back as I can remember, I was going to go in the Marine Corps. And so, my time.
Like young.
Right.
That was kind of your mission, your goal. That's pretty cool.
So I come back to this community and I was gone again. As soon as I graduated from high school.
Did you talk about that? Like what, you need to be 18 to actually sign?
You need to be 18 to sign. I signed when I was 17, which, you can have your parents sign for you at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it 17 with parent or, okay. So that's the earliest essentially.
To enlist, you can enlist at the age of 17 as long as you have parental consent.
And does that mean you have to wait till 18 before you actually?
No. I think if you graduate high school early, or it's just the way things line up, you could be in boot camp at 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty cool that you knew that was your path. Talk about that. So you were 17 and what's summer after senior year, you were gone?
The summer of my senior year. Yeah. I mean, the day I graduated was the same day that I had to go to the hotel to get on a flight the next day to go to Paris Island. So, I wouldn't have had it any other way, to be honest with you. I knew what I was getting into at the time. This is 2005. We were at the height of Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Yeah.
I enlisted as an infantry rifleman, so I knew full well that combat was going to be one of the things that I would experience firsthand. I didn't know what that would be like. We all have an idea based on the media and movies and whatnot, but it was far from that. So I left home and started this new chapter. And a lot of it was what I expected of it. Most of it was not. So, I knew that I'd be going to Iraq, right? So within 7 months of my enlistment, at this point I was 17, and I turned 19 just before I deployed to Iraq in 2006.
Okay. So it was like year and a half or so.
Well, in the military, in the Marine Corps, so not no, is you go to 3 months of boot camp, 13 weeks. That's Marine Corps standard, and then a month and a half of job training, and then from there you get dropped to a unit. I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and within 5.5, 6 months, we had deployed. So it was a pretty quick turnaround. It was within the first year of enlistment.
Is that what you expected, or you just had no idea?
I knew.
Okay.
It's very, I don't want to call it formulaic, but they have a rotation.
Yeah.
And infantry units, they're 7 months out, 7 months home, 7 months out when we're in a period of conflict. Okay. At least that's how it was when I was in.
Yeah.
And so, my first year in the Marine Corps, my first 6 to 8 months was all training. Learning how to do the job, understanding the difference between hostile intent and hostile act, deadly force, escalation of force. And it grows you up really quickly, right? I mean, it's a different path of life. The kids that I went to high school with, of which I could not form meaningful relationships with because I would just come back to Central New York midway through my junior year. So I had already, in my opinion, was pretty isolated. Didn't really have a community at home. So the Marine Corps was meant to fill like a major gap within my life. It was going to replace a lot of different things that I felt like I didn't have access to. And, again, a lot of kids go to college. Maybe they find a career right outside of high school. Maybe they pursue sports. And for me, this was it. Regardless of the circumstances, I knew, having joined at the time I did, I was going to be in a period of conflict. And I welcomed it at the time. I was like, why join the infantry in the Marine Corps if you're not going to go to see combat, right?
Yeah.
Little did I know.
Yeah, at the time. So 6 to 8 months and you're already off.
Yes.
And talk about how long, you said a 7-month rotation. Was that what you experienced too?
Yeah.
And for how long did you do that?
So 4 years.
4 years.
4 years in the military. And that first deployment, I actually got to come home a little bit early. I was selected, one of a few members of our unit were selected to come home for a school called Squad Leader School. So I was next up to run a squad of 12 other Marines into our next deployment. So it's just about 7 months in either case. But it was, it's an eye opener. Like the experiences I had over there will forever be imprinted on my life. Unfortunately, not all of us came home. Lost 14 brothers while deployed on that first combat tour. And the one thing is, like, at a young age, learning the things that I had learned, being trained the way I was trained, conditioned in such a way. Yeah, I didn't know how to grieve or wrestle with any of the challenges or trauma that I had experienced. So you put it all in a box. Marines and several other folks in the military learn how to compartmentalize. I think it's pretty common in society as a whole.
Yeah.
We stuff it down and we continue pressing forward. There's a mission to accomplish. And so it wasn't really until I got out of the military that I felt the full weight of that. And it took many years. But, during that 4-year enlistment, I deployed again to Iraq after I came home. And it was at that time, really, that I decided that a 20-year career in the military wasn't for me, that there was so much in life that I hadn't experienced yet. The fires of combat will teach you a lot of what to be grateful for. Something small like clean air, green grass. We just often forget how good we have it here. It's just how we're raised and how we're programmed. It's something I articulate to my kids today. Like, life could be different.
Yeah. I like the saying, like, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
That's right.
Right. If a flat tire is the worst thing, then it's chaos, right? You don't know what to do. You're upset, whatever. But if you've been through it, and you've been through some serious stuff, yeah, you can just appreciate so much more. And it puts things in perspective. It's interesting that you talked about, when you're when you're deployed, right? And you're in Iraq and you have to deal with these emotions, but like, you almost don't have time for it, right? Because you're on a mission and you need to complete the mission and you don't want any more tragedy. So you got to be focused. Is that taught in training? Like, how to deal with, like, if you lose a brother out there, do they like talk to you? Is that all part of it, or is it kind of just go with it? And it's like, hey, it's just next thing up. And I don't mean, get into much detail as you want. I just, because, obviously I look at what you do with Clear Path for Veterans, and it's really trying to solve it and taking the time to kind of decompress and say, okay, let's figure out what's going on here. Let's try to find a better path forward. You don't really have time to do that when you're serving in active military.
No, investing in your emotions is not something the military teaches you a whole lot about. Not to say that there isn't access to services through your chaplain, or if you express the need for mental health. It's available, highly discouraged at the subcultural level, right? You are taught at a very young age in the military to not talk about problems that you might have, nightmares that you might be experiencing, alcoholism, right? Like, these are things that you will be categorized for. Military culture is shame culture.
Yeah.
So if you're labeled as somebody that says, I have a problem falling asleep, or I can't cope with myself without drinking alcohol, number of different things, right? You get put into a box, and usually that leads to getting kicked out of the military. You leave your tribe, and your tribe doesn't want anything to do with you at that point. To be honest with you, that's just the way it works. Sports culture is probably the same, right?
Oh, well, that's my question. Is like, is that necessary? Like, I can imagine, right? I attribute it to sports, right? Because that's what I know. If we have someone on the team who's, it's one thing, like obviously if they're hurt, they want to, you need them to get healthy to be their best self in a way. But at some point, it's like if they're just constantly a distraction in that regard, yeah, it's like, all right, we still need to accomplish this,
Yep.
and if you're a distraction, it's like that fine line. And I'm sure it's pretty similar.
Very similar. There's so much that athletes and military members have in common. I think that's a new area to continue to explore for sure. I've learned a lot from athletes and their transition from being a professional athlete or a collegiate athlete to going to try to being, a different member of society. And it's similar. It's all relative too.
Yeah.
The weight of that is the same. It's
Yeah.
just a different space. And we all go through something that makes it difficult to reclaim or find a new identity.
This episode is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen of Central New York, the #1 window and door company in America. Winter is coming, and there's no better time to upgrade. Their energy-efficient windows keep warm in, the cold out, and your energy bills low. Schedule your free consultation today by clicking the link in the show notes. That's such a good point. And I didn't, personally experience that because, playing lacrosse, I played at a high level, even professional for a little bit, but it was never like, this is my life. Like I always knew I'm going to have another career, right?
Yeah.
Lacrosse isn't going to pay the bills, even though, coaching, doing things like that, you can have a great career, but it's not playing lacrosse. Where I know athletes, basketball athletes who think about it, if you're getting into that NBA level, that's so much focus, that how much time you're putting into it. And that's all you're thinking about. And then maybe you get close or you get to a point, but then that doesn't end up working out. That's a hard switch from like, okay, for the first 20 whatever years of my life, it was all basketball and playing basketball. And it's like, yeah, how do I, kind of incorporate back into society? Well, oh, I have to get a job now. I have to find a career. And that's, like I said, I didn't think about the parallel, until you kind of brought it up, but it's not easy.
No, it becomes part of your fabric, and that lies or leads us into the challenges that veterans face. This is common, and we all struggle with this upon transitioning outside of the military, and that's exactly why ClearPath exists.
Yeah.
We exist so that we can help veterans connect and restore and grow. We do that through core programs and services that are aligned with these unique challenges that veterans face. And it's very important that we have that within our community to welcome veterans home, not just through our programs and services, but beyond that. There's plenty of people and local businesses out there that have so much that they contribute to the veteran community and certainly are better together. And it's not about foregoing the things that they have done and trying to recreate who their persona is. That was my thing. I got out of the military and I thought, well, there's only one thing I'm going to be able to do, and that's police work, law enforcement. And that didn't work out.
How old were you when you got out?
22.
20. Okay, so you're still pretty young.
Yeah, I was still pretty young, but I felt like I lived an entire lifetime.
Oh, I can imagine.
And, going into college, higher ed, and, taking advantage of the benefits that we receive from a federal standpoint. A lot of us do that. And it's great. And it checks a lot of boxes, but it doesn't hit to the moral injuries that we've experienced while serving or some of the other just different cultural considerations to account for when going from a military culture back into the civilian world. We're taught that every detail matters. I was getting dressed this morning, right? And there's a little string hanging off of my pants. Drove me nuts. I had to cut it off. But that's the discipline that you're taught in the military. That's unacceptable. You can't continue to move on your day. And if you try to, it's going to bother you for the rest of your day, right? Something so stupid and small. What are those? It's that level of detail, attention to detail that makes military members so valuable in today's workforce.
Yeah.
They have incredible work ethic. They're going to pay attention to the details that are important to your business. They're going to work and do exactly what they're told because they're taught that discipline is the instant willing obedience to all orders, respect for authority, self-reliance, teamwork. It's such a valuable, character trait that I won't say is lost in the civilian world, but it certainly has transformed.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. You could talking to some hiring managers, they might agree with that statement.
Yeah.
But you did mention businesses can do so much for our veterans, but to your point, veterans can do so much for businesses too. Because you're
100%.
right. I mean, this is some of the qualities they bring to the table and their training, the exactly attention to detail, discipline. I mean, half of it's just showing up every day and ready
Right.
to go.
Yeah.
And, you don't have a choice when you're in the military. When you have a job, you can quit the job, right? It is what it is. But like, if that's their mindset, I mean, that's what makes great employees. And that's, I just know the businesses I've worked with and the veterans who work there, it's what you get.
100%.
And it's great.
The level of freedom that you have when you get out, can be debilitating. A lot of veterans get out and they're used to being told what to do, where to be, when to be there. And, a lot of veterans struggle with that. So I do believe there is a point in time, right? There's a period in which you get out, give yourself time to get well and find an organization like ClearPath to help you get well before you enter into the workforce market, right? Like, don't just jump from one to the next. Give yourself this cleansing type of experience to work through some of these issues you might be dealing with before you step right into the grind again.
Yeah. Talk about how you got involved with ClearPath. You're 22.
Mm-hmm.
You're done in the military. You said you went to higher ed.
Yep.
Talk about your path and what led you to ClearPath.
Yeah. Again, law enforcement didn't work out for me. I had,
was that kind of you're like pretty certain that's what you're going to do?
I was 100%. So
okay.
I had a plan. Like, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to take this test. I'm going to get out. I'm going to get into law enforcement and then do my 20 plus years, have a great career. It seemed to be
then be 42 and be right in the same boat, right? No.
It seemed to be the only transferable, my skills would only transfer into that type of vocation. And I totally discounted all the things that could be possible. It's like, the Marine Corps taught me how to take life, how to apprehend people, all these different skill sets that only seem to translate. But I was completely negating all the things I just told you: the discipline, the work ethic, the teamwork, the ability to work under a high level of pressure and still push through it. Complaining wasn't a norm. It was in the underground, but not, up front. We did.
Yeah.
It's just a different culture. So anyway, I shifted, I pivoted, and I went to ESF and got into natural resources and forestry, because the next best thing to law enforcement or, guns and bad guys was nature for me. I've always had an affinity for animals, and I was interested in wildlife and conservation. But that led me down a path in which I got a job doing tree work. I was an arborist for a number of years, and I loved the work. It was very similar to being a grunt, in the infantry. It was very difficult, hard work, but it was not filling a bucket within me that helped me live out the identity in which I felt was most aligned with me. And a friend of mine who also served in the Marine Corps was working at ClearPath, and he gave me a call 5 years into this career I was already in, right? And this is about 10 years ago, and said, like, hey, we are looking for a combat vet that lives in the Southern Tier. I lived in Atisco, so I was kind of right on the fringes of the Southern Tier, to help other veterans navigate from their military life to their civilian transition. Are you interested? I was like, yes, that sounds incredible. Completely made sense to me. It sparked a level of joy in me that hadn't been triggered in a decade at that point. We're close to it, right? Like, several years after getting out of the military, thinking that I had this plan, but finally something like just seemed to make sense. Like, this isn't by accident. Why is this opportunity coming to my door? And so that's how I got started. I applied. I don't know how I got the job, because my interview was terrible. It was terrible, but they saw something in me. I remember the first time I entered, I walked through the doors at this lodge. ClearPath sits on 78-acre property in the middle of central New York. Some of the most beautiful landscape.
Where exactly?
Right off of Salt Springs Road, overlooks Oneida Lake.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's on one of the higher points of elevation, so it's in between Onondaga and Madison County, but it's beautiful. It's the most incredible space. It's one of the, I think, best landscapes that you can see, like, right here in this community, right? Cool. And that's what immediately I was gravitated towards. It's like, when you're thinking of wellness for veterans, I love downtown Syracuse, but this is not it. If this is the kind of place, this 3D environment, that a lot of veterans who have been in combat look at it like there's threats all around me. I mean, even parking your vehicle and trying to get from point A to point B, you're thinking of all the things that can go wrong.
Honking. Yeah. It's just, yeah.
And that's where it's the Syracuse VA, that's where it is. And the Syracuse VA is incredible. It's one of the best in the country. They do great work clinically and holistically for veterans. But to go to ClearPath for Veterans is a much different experience. So again, back to walking through those doors, I was like, all right, this is the place.
Yeah.
This is where I'm supposed to be.
When you got a call from your buddy saying, I need someone in the Southern tier to help veterans kind of, come back to the civilian life, were you like, yes, I know I can help with that? Or were you like, that sounds great. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing, but I want to sign up or I want to learn, or a little both?
I hadn't gone through my own healing at that point in time, to be honest with you. I was still wearing a mask, struggled with alcoholism. I was experiencing symptomatic PTSD at its highest point. The lure to this, though, allowed me to I got it together. I can help. I'm going to work every day. I'm on time. I'm functional. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm checking the boxes. I wasn't homeless, right? So I thought I had my stuff together.
Well, in some regard you did, but you knew, whether you knew at the time or not, you had,
but I didn't.
More healing to go. Okay.
So I got into this job, right? And started working with these veterans that were in far worse circumstances than me. But it forced me to look in the mirror and say, you got to make some changes. And it was only through the programs and services that ClearPath offered that I was able to overcome a lot of those different hurdles that I was facing.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, we talk about the analogy with sports. When you coach, it makes you a better player, right? Because you're analyzing, the player, how they should be playing on the field, right? It's probably similar in your regard, like, oh yeah, I'm doing great. But then you're trying to help, their transition back, and you realize some of the tools that they can use, and seeing some of the things wrong with them. You're like, wait, I got to look at myself and make sure I'm doing. And it's hard to teach it if you're not doing it. No one wants someone who's going to say, do as I say, not as I do.
100%. And that was the new trajectory I was on. And I'm thankful. I mean, the people there was what stood out the most to me. The founder, Melissa Spicer, she's a civilian. She started this organization because she had some stuff going on in her life and had to redesign her purpose, so to say. And the veteran population is who she could most identify with. She came alongside me and along with a bunch of other people at ClearPath, and really pulled me out of the darker spaces.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you started, we said, about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about your path, up to this point, and how you're the CEO, correct?
I am.
Yeah.
Starting as like a foot soldier, doing the peer work, which I was very grateful for, seeing the other side of veterans that I didn't know. And I was introduced to our canine program. And as I said, I've always had an affinity for animals. My entire life growing up, we've always had dogs, and going back to the idea that the truth. I moved around everywhere. I had a lot of challenges getting plugged into social circles and that kind of thing.
It's hard when you're young to be moving like that.
Yes. Yeah. Dogs were always there, unconditional, liked me no matter what kind of thing. And I didn't have to perform. They could read you really well, and always loved them. But anyway, this canine program, I'm on this tour. I'm looking at what's going on. They're training service dogs for veterans diagnosed with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. I was so interested in it. And our program director and a founder were looking at me like, why don't you apply? Like, you're perfectly eligible for this. Like, you're the ideal candidate for this program. And I, at the time, really put trauma on a scale, which is not healthy. And I just thought to myself, no, there are so many other veterans out there that really should be getting this beyond me. And
you mean like the position to run the program?
To receive services.
Oh, okay.
So they had me apply, right? They could encourage me over and over again, you should apply for this program as a recipient, as a participant in the program. So I went through it. And long story short, I discovered a passion I didn't know existed, which was working with dogs, and then synergizing that with the work with the veterans. But I wanted to become a dog trainer. And luckily we were just at this time where the organization could invest in me to go through schooling to become a dog trainer. And I ended up doing that and helping take that program from a local grassroots great program 10 years ago to now it's a internationally accredited program serving veterans, not just in New York State, but nationally. But it was because, I mean, it works, right? Like
Yeah.
the human animal bond and what that does for not just the veteran, but the dog too. There's so many studies out there that show that the interaction between a human and their dog releases oxytocin on both sides. There's a lot of incredible things that happen, but the intuition of a dog to pick up on symptoms of a veteran and respond to it in such a way that helps alleviate that and decrease levels of stress and cortisol and all these different types of things. I didn't know all the science behind it, but I was experiencing it in real time. And for me, the opportunity to be able to continue to give back to other veterans that were going through what I went through, there was no greater gift.
Yeah.
So that was clear to me. This is the path that I'm supposed to go down. And I was not pursuing it to run the program or lead it. I just wanted to give every ounce of myself back into this program. Through that, I got sober. I stopped drinking completely. And I've been sober since 2017, I think it was.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
really started to take care of myself in a way that I hadn't done before. Started going to therapy. I found a church, found a community, started going to the gym again, like all these different things that attribute to like holistic wellness, which is what ClearPath does. The design behind all of our programs look at the 6 dimensions of wellness. So all the while I'm working there, I'm receiving services. I'm also providing services, but I'm getting to experience this whole ecosystem of wellness for veterans. So it was like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
So to
Win,
say,
win,
right?
win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
So a couple years later, after getting that program to where it was, I ended up. They wanted me to oversee all programs, so I ended up as a chief program officer. A year later, very quickly, they had a transition and asked me to step into the CEO.
Very cool. Yeah. I was looking at the canine program, and personally, I've experienced. We have 2 dogs.
Awesome.
And don't think I've faced obviously some of the trauma that I'm sure a lot of the veterans you work with have faced. But just, it doesn't mean it can't help anyone, right? Because I just think of they're great accountability partners, right? When you have someone else, you get it with kids a little bit, but like they need exercise. The great accountability partner for my favorite habit, which is walking them for, like a mile and a half every night. And if it's just me and they're not there, like if it's raining or it's just cold out, I'm going to be like, all right, I don't have to go tonight. But when those dogs are sitting there looking at you, like, hey, it's that time.
Yeah.
You never regret that, right? You never regret going out. I mean, not only to see them happy and see them content, but like what it does for you, it clears my mind. You get a little exercise in. I mean, that's just one small thing they could do, but it's like, it's such a great recommendation of like, talk about, not only is it all selfish now, there's, other people involved, a great transition to parenting, there's just so many benefits. So I'm just curious, like what does that program look like from a high level overview, and just talk about that a little bit about how it helps your veterans. I mean, obviously people can assume that it's going to help, but I just like to hear it.
Dogs are just such intuitive beings. Regardless if it's a pet or a service dog, I would encourage anybody listening to this to pay attention. What does your dog do when you're experiencing fear, stress, anxiety, name it, right?
Yeah.
And also it's a good idea to reflect on some of the coping mechanisms that you've adopted and what your dog may be responding to. So for instance, those experiencing anxiety or frustration or impulsive behavior will often show that through bouncing their leg up and down, scratching, their hands or twisting their wedding band, biting their nails. And if you paid attention to your dog in those instances and just to see how they interact with you, it might tell you a story. So our dogs are trained specifically to pick up on all of those different signals that are related to symptomatic post-traumatic stress. And they perform different behaviors to help ground the veteran in whatever case they might be experiencing, right? It could be disassociation, so staring blankly off into nothing because you have completely shut down and tuned out. Our dogs are trained to respond to that in different ways. Some of them might paw them on the leg, paw their handler on the leg. They might put a chin on their lap. They might nudge them in the side, which then in turn brings the veteran back into the present moment. And we want veterans to continuously be present, to not drift off into ruminating thoughts and negative emotions, but to be there with their battle buddy, which is their service dog, and continue to do life together. So the other thing about these service dogs is they're federally allowed to go wherever the general public is allowed to go. And we're not, people think of service dogs based on their experience, right? We've all seen the fake service dog.
But I just want to get my dog on the plane.
Yeah.
Service dog. Yeah.
The dog that's barking and growling and lunging at the end of the leash. We have drilled this down to a science. It's a very technical job to train a service dog. It takes us 2 years, right? It takes 2 years. We start at birth.
Is there certain breeds, or can you?
You could use
most?
So we don't have breed restrictions, but
Okay.
we do have a puppy development program, which selects purpose-bred Labrador retrievers and golden retrievers. We also have an owner trainer program. So veterans that have their own dog that they want to be evaluated for service, we'll evaluate them, but we hold them to the same criteria we hold our own dogs to. That's what's fair, right? If a veteran is going to navigate the general public with a dog, you can sit in this room and hear all the sounds out there, cars beeping, sirens, all of this different stuff. That dog has to be bulletproof to all of that, because if they're having a negative reaction that the veteran already is having a struggle with themselves going into that environment, that's not going to help anything, right? They shouldn't be helping to coach the dog through that process. So very specifically trained, one size fits one approach. Takes 2 years to train the dog. We bring the veteran in for 3 weeks. So no matter where they live in the country, we fly them out to our main campus, provide them with everything: food, travel, accommodations, other core services and programs at ClearPath. They go through training, take a public access test, and then go back into their communities.
So it's like a 3-month transition with the owner and the dog. Is that how long is it? Or is that
It's 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Sorry.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
that's pretty long.
The reason we've trained the dog already, right?
Yeah. So it's just getting them.
They got to know how to run the dog. And realities, people can't leave home and come to central New York for 3 months, right? Yeah. Locally, we can extend that timeline for about 6 months if they have their own dog and they want to bring them through the program, as long as they meet the criteria. But yeah, we have a lot of information to provide in a very short period of time, and we follow them for the entire working life of the dog. So we recertify every year. We do check-ins. We provide them with other programs and services that ClearPath offers just to continue to support them. It's just really important.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you said you transitioned from the K9 program to all program director to the CEO. Talk about some of the other programs that ClearPath offers and that are, popular, or things that maybe not everyone would be aware of.
Yeah. One of the most popular services that ClearPath provides is our culinary service. So we have a classically trained chef on staff with a whole team that provides healthy meals to veterans every week on a routine basis. Every Wednesday from 11 to 1, we run a canteen luncheon. And again, open to veterans and their families. It's all-inclusive approach. It's a great way to break bread and have camaraderie. So we'll have anywhere between 150 up to 200 veterans on site at any given time. And again, every Wednesday, 11 to 1, I tell everybody about this, just come up and see it. Anybody that wants to experience this, you have an invitation. Come see what's going on at ClearPath. We have our K9 program, which we just talked a lot about. We also do peer support. So peer support, that's how I got started, right? Veterans themselves that have navigated this transition from their military life to civilian culture, helping other veterans with their unique circumstances, whatever they might be: employment, education, benefits, family support. There's a lot of different things that veterans themselves would benefit from connecting with a veteran who has actually gone through that, to provide them with a roadmap of where to go next. We also offer a program called Operation Socrates, which helps active duty service members who are pending transition get into K through 12 teaching jobs.
Oh, cool.
Which is incredible. It's nationally represented. So we're in 18 different states right now. We have partnerships with 55 different school districts. There's a big need for teachers, and veterans fit that bill really well. And definitely not lastly, there's so many other things we could talk about. We also offer wellness. So we have a wellness wing on site that does non-clinical modalities with licensed practitioners, such as massage therapy, chiropractic, meditation, breath work, sound therapy. The list goes on. and so much more. There's just a lot of incredible things that the organization is doing, and really back to it's what are the deficiencies, what are the gaps that veterans and families are facing right now, and what can ClearPath do to fill that void. So there's always something new, but those are the core functions of the organization.
Yeah. So do you guys kind of test different things, or you say there's always something new, right? Because you don't necessarily know. I'm sure, obviously, there's other places across the country that you can look to see what's working there. But it's pretty cool that you guys kind of just try different things.
It's evolving.
Yeah, exactly. Evolve. That's a great word. That's a great way to put it.
We got to keep up with. There's a lot of studies out there, contemporary studies about what are veterans struggling with now, years post the conflict in the Middle East. And what are the Vietnam veterans struggling with?
Yeah.
Where are the gaps? What are the barriers? And we don't try to do everything ourselves. A big thing for us is like not to duplicate services. If there's another organization that's doing what or something different and really well, we seek to partner with them and supplement different services that we're providing, or complement rather.
It's like a smart business decision, right?
Yeah, and there's so many opportunities.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing I would project.
You can't do everything well, right? You got to find the people who do it well, and
Definitely.
like you said, partner. One thing that stood out to me too is you have these little mini documentaries on your website, and one of them there was a veteran talking about, more or less he said he knew something was wrong, but not only did you guys give him the resources that he needed for help, but like you helped him figure out what he needed, because he's like, sometimes you don't feel right and you have no idea what it could be. I mean, maybe someone obviously looking in might be able to tell you, but it can be hard, right? You just say, hey, something's wrong. I don't know what it is, right? So not only do you guys give them the resources like, hey, this is all here for you, but also let's have a conversation. Let's sit down. And then, okay, well, it seems like you might benefit from X, Y, and Z here.
Yeah. I mean, to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you is something I learned a little while back, and not always necessarily smarter than you, but have had different experiences. That's the idea behind the Peer Mentor program. There's a lot of, veterans out there that would otherwise be isolated and not have somebody to go to, or they would be inhibited from going to seek services from somebody that hasn't experienced veteran or military culture.
Yeah.
So it can be very powerful to sit across the table from another veteran who has had the same struggles and provide them with like an example, like this is how I overcome this, but here are some different opportunities to consider. And not only that, like we're going to go together.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to drive you to this place. Or if you can't put food on the table, we're going to grab food from the food pantry. I'm going to put it on the table for you until we can figure out your financial and employment situation to get you where you need to be.
Yeah, I love the food aspect of it too. Like good, healthy meals.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of, anyone, right? If you're eating McDonald's every day, you're not
Right.
going to feel good regardless
Yeah.
of, what you've been through. Real quick, talk to listeners right now, like, motivated by this, and hey, what can anyone do to help or get involved? I know you said, stop by our is it Wednesday lunch?
Wednesday lunches.
Yeah, just to see what's going on. But what else? What are some easy ways to get involved?
Locally, I would say come out, experience it, put your feet on the grounds and immerse yourself in it. Anytime I've had somebody come there for the first time, they always say there's something spiritual about this place. It's just incredible. We've had, or just this week, we had 13 local business leaders come out to the organization and do snowshoeing with us.
Cool.
Right? And then learn more about the organization and to better understand why it's so important that we focus on the military civilian divide and try to bring that together. Right. So it's not just a veteran issue. This is a issue that if we navigate carefully, the whole country will benefit from it, especially this local community. Investing in the veteran population will do well for, small businesses and corporations alike. Connect with us on our website, through our social media platforms. Definitely reach out if you want to have a conversation with myself or anybody on my staff, but there are so many different ways to connect with the organization. We do run a ton of events throughout the year. Our biggest one is our Red, White, and Blue Barbecue, and that occurs in June, and we're always looking to pack the house with that.
Talk about that a little. Just like a big get together.
So we don't do a gala. We decided years ago that it would be better for us to just maintain the the feeling of this organization being very community based to have this really awesome barbecue. So our culinary team puts on like this incredible meal. I've yet to have like a valid complaint about any of the food that actually comes out. We do a silent auction, a band. It's packed. A lot of good people. It's in June, so the weather's pretty good here in Central New York. Another great way to get introduced to the organization and contribute in a unique way. Um, yeah, it's an awesome time. Worth coming out.
Very cool. Well, Ryan, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing your story, what brought you to ClearPath and everything ClearPath has to offer. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, I know, Renewal by Anderson's involved, and, I've kind of followed from there, but, excited to come check it out. You've sold me. So yeah, thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure. You're always invited. Thanks.